you all know Perlabyss is the parent company of CCP Games. They purchased CCP Games a few years ago, and ever since then, we're getting quarterly financial numbers in this investor report coming from Perlabyss. Perlabyss is a Korean company, and their main IP is Black Desert Online. So most of this speaks and represents Black Desert Online. As you will see in a second here, we also always can see one EVE-related number, and that's the revenue by IP. And so that's pretty much the only official numbers we get, besides the yearly financial report filing from CCP in Iceland with the Icelandic tax authority. So this is, our 4 times a year we have a look at the numbers here, and I'll walk you through it. It doesn't take very long. It's just a few slides, but it's an interesting look behind the scenes, behind the actual success or failure that lies behind the business of running the game company behind EVE Online. All right, so there's no dark mode because it's a PDF that comes straight from Perlabyss. So sorry about your eyes. We always see this right here, and that's the overview of what happened in the quarter in question. We immediately see that operating revenues for Perlabyss as a whole have reached the lowest point in the last 5 quarters. So that's not good. That's 78 billion in Korean currency. That is the lowest, and it's come down significantly from Q4. Now, what you have to do, what you should do, especially with gaming companies, is compare this to year over year. So, last year's second quarter to this year's quarter. But even then, you can see here there's a significant drop, right? There's this is something like almost 20% drop over the last quarter. Now, immediately they know this is bad news, right? So what do? They immediately come in here and say, we're going to be showing the daily active users for Black Desert Online because this looks really bad, and so we need to show something positive, right? So this is classic investor relations presentation. So obviously, they had an expansion launch on PC, that a bunch of new content. The daily active users are up, but revenue for the quarter is down. They quickly also mention EVE Online here, and what they say about it is that they released a new expansion, Viridian, we all know that, and there's a FanFest documentary called Belonging that probably a lot of you have already checked out as well. So far, nothing good, really, just dropping revenues. If we're looking at their operating performance, right here, this is where it is, year on year, 16.6% drop. Not great, right? Operating profit, even worse, minus 14%. That's the worst it has been the last 5 quarters. So this is their day-to-day. In their day-to-day operations, they're making a significant loss here. And what this means is that there are expenses that we'll see itemized later, but there are just expenses that a company needs to operate, right? That's mainly the salary for the devs, that's advertising, that's commission for partners, etc., etc. So there's a certain amount of expenses that they have, right? That are not going to drop just because they have less revenue. And so this revenue right here is just not enough to cover their expenses, and that's why you're seeing this drastically looking operating profit. They have expenses around 90 billion, and that's just that's just what's going to happen. Now, their net profit, if you then add, special effects, income from financing activities, so from non-operating activities that have nothing to do with the daily business, but that are also, under the umbrella of Pearl Abyss, then it looks a little bit better. They're still in the red, but it's almost break even. It's just overall just not great. Now, it becomes more interesting when we break it down by IP, because here we can see, interestingly enough, that EVE Online has had the best quarter in terms of revenue over the last 5 quarters. Now we have to, there's currency effects in there, right? And there's also inflation in there, right? So you can't just take that value and and celebrate it as it is. However, even taking into effect those outside effects, this is a good result for EVE Online, and this is something that certainly Pearl Abyss is very, very happy about in a quarter where Black Desert revenue is just completely tanking, right? I mean, they've been going from 76 billion to 56 billion. That's a humongous drop for their main IP. You can see that reflected in the revenue by region and revenue by platform as well. This just all points towards Black Desert Online not performing and EVE Online doing well. They didn't talk that much about EVE Online in the investors call. What they did talk about a lot is the excuses for Black Desert Online, and that was mainly, according to the C-level representatives, it was mainly increased competition. If you want to look at the transcript or some more of the background, our friend Croda did a nice write-up in his Markets for ISK blog that you can find. Just Google it or look it up on our Discord. And also Nosy Gamer, that a lot of you guys know from the EVE community, also did a write-up. So probably Diablo 4 is one of their problems, certainly. But Black Desert Online, a game that is famous for its monetization, to be honest, is just not doing as well as it should. So, if we're looking at their operating expenses, this is what I was talking about. These are just not going to go down enough to cover a quarter where revenues are that bad. If you're looking at it year over year, labor costs down 2%, right? If you go down here, you can see that the headcount dropped by 14% and 6% respectively. If you look at development staff and business and administrative staff, then 15% down in commissions. A lot of that has to do with I think the commissions that they pay for Eve Echoes, for example, and all the revenue they have in China. I think a lot of that is covered by commissions, but that's harder to track. Advertising down 26%. That's just quarter. That's just whenever they decide to do their advertising campaigns, right? Administrative costs up 5%. That could be anything really, and other costs up 11%. So overall, costs, they are what they are. They're higher than Q1. They're lower than Q4. But 92 billion is just way too high to have a profit when your revenue is only 78 billion. Looking forward, what they're saying here is for EVE is the AT, which is going on right now, as all of you know, and then FanFest is going on in September. But there's not really anything interesting that they're putting out. The new IP is Crimson Desert and Dokvi are two games that they are working on. They're not talking a lot about other CCP games, but they're going to apparently show some Crimson Desert footage at Gamescom next week or in 2 weeks' time. Having said all that, one thing that never lies, though, right? If you say okay, this looks pretty bad, right? This just looks like this just looks like they are this just looks like they're tanking, their business is doing horribly. If you go and look at their stock price, which I'm looking up clumsily in the background here, then you will see, for example, let's take this side, for example, right here. You can see that their stock price, if you look at their 1 month stock price, it didn't hurt it at all, right? So what that means is that they the market expected what was happening. The numbers that came out were not bad enough to surprise the market, and that's why the loss that they posted in Q2 was already baked into that. So it's not like there was a huge outcry about these numbers. This was more or less expected. Will CCP be part of the Pearl Abyss stand at Gamescom? No, I don't think CCP will not have a presence at the Gamescom, I believe. I think I saw Swift post something like that. I don't think they're going to be there. Lots of hope in for Crimson Desert, and I suspect the Q3 users was a positive surprise. Yeah, so we'll one thing about this is that Black Desert and Eve are both now mature IPs, right? It's not like they're going to like games companies, they're always going to bank on that next IP coming out and being successful, because games nowadays are very expensive to produce. At least AAA titles are, and so right now a lot of that operating expense goes towards new titles as well. If you look at the headcount here, they have 800 developers working for them, right? So this is this is going to be they are always going to be successful if the next IP is successful. They won't be if it tanks, right? Large developments that are developed over years that are not successful are a huge setback for gaming companies like Pearl Abyss, right? What that means for CCP, who knows? They are being run fairly independently still. I don't think, I think that might lead to at some point, them being motivated to sell or not sell CCP at some point in the future. But right now, I think they're just happy that Eve is growing in revenue quarter over quarter, because it gives them some good news to tell their investors, because Black Desert Online is not doing well at the moment. Yeah. So Solstice Project, not CCP. I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm talking about Pearl Abyss, so. But confiscate the game servers and shut them down if the revenue drops. Not sure if Eve is profitable enough. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. This says nothing about the profitability of Eve. All right, got it, Celsius. Thank you. We saw the numbers from CCP in April, right, for 2022, and they're not profitable overall. I think They don't have to release the profitability for CCP here. So we can only look at it in the yearly financial reports. But certainly, that CCP being able to increase revenues is the first step towards profitability. And this is a big advantage in being owned by a company like Pearl Abyss, is that CCP right now they don't have to be profitable. They can be unprofitable, and Pearl Abyss will probably continue to finance their losses. If CCP was standalone, then a year like last year would have not been possible. Or depending on their cash reserves, but it would have been painful. They would have been looking for investors, one way or the other. CCP is not profitable according to their last yearly financial statements. No, the last 2 years, I think they lost. In 2021, they lost around $8 million or so. Quota, was it? 8 million in 2021. 2022 was a massive loss because they had a big write-off. But yeah, so it was difficult. How? EVE Online is not a profitable business. It doesn't have a lot of players. CCP is developing new IP. So while EVE Online itself in a black box might be profitable, you have to also factor in the new developments that CCP is working on, right? So they're financing a lot of development teams that are not bringing in any profit right now. So EVE Online, if they just did EVE Online and only focused on EVE Online, then sure, they would probably have a profitable business, but that's not what's going on. CCP is investing in R&D. Yeah, for them, R&D is the development of new IPs. So the EVE Online FPS, the EVE Online 4X games, those are that's what constitutes R&D for them. The blockchain game that shall not be mentioned. EVE Online, the board game, right? We saw that. So we'll get a first glance at the board game at FanFest. So should be good. All right. Any questions for this? We have some more details back here, but I think we'll save that for later.